they ignore me. And it's just heartbreaking knowing you have a family, but don't really. And the kind of love I expect from my I get it from them, from the LGBT community.
There have been several human rights programs hosted here, and I had the privilege to attend some of them. And I realized being a lesbian is not illegal. You have the right to your own feelings, so they should be treated fairly as the way they treat every human, because we are all human, no matter our sexual difference. I have hope that it will happen, but I know it will take time.
Thank you. This is the end of the video. I will continue with another story very quickly before I move to the substantive issues. So I took part in addressing a case for a gay man who was, or a person who is perceived to be gay, who was abused because of, so this is Kwesi. So let's name him Kwesi. Kwesi was brutally abused in Nima because he called a friend and said he wanted to see the friend. Before he would realize in his car, people ganged up on him and beat him up. I have the video, but it is quite gory, and sorry if it's triggering, but I had the thing before to show that if this person was abused because they suspected that he's gay, not because he's stolen anything or he's done anything, is because they suspect that he's gay. So he was beating up, he was, his car was taken from him, he was sent to the ATM machine to withdraw the money in his account, and later on when we reported the case, sent to the police and everything, we processed the case and went to court. What happened in court was even more emotional to me. We went to court several times. At a point when the defense, he kept on shouting, "This man is a homosexual. This person is gay. He's a homosexual," to the judge. Surprisingly, the judge also followed up and said, "Are you gay? Are you homosexual? You are homosexual?" We forgot, all of us in the room, everybody forgot about what has happened to Kwesi. That he was beaten, he was brutalized, his car was taken from him, he was robbed. Because when the issue of he being suspected to be gay was mentioned. So these are some of the issues that I wanted to bring to your attention, Honorable. And I would want to, Mr. Chairman, and I want to go quickly to our statement to say the following. That one, we think that this bill will have a human rights impact on the people that we serve and work with. Already, I've shown you in our video what kind of human rights abuses people are facing in the community. So I don't rehash them too much. The next thing is that LGBT people could be denied access to services and criminalized because the services are even criminalized. According to the existing law, Section 12(2)(a) and B and 3 simply makes everyone who provides any service, including healthcare, education, transportation, water, electricity, or any other service to LGBT persons, a criminal, per our understanding. For instance, if a person is suspected to be gay and they decide to take a trotro, could the trotro driver and mate say, "Look, we know you are gay, we can't take you on because we may be implicated"? The bill increases discrimination against LGBT persons. The bill criminalizes the existence of a human being. First, the first Section 1 criminalize somebody for holding out, which means that, as my colleague already explained, if a person says that I am gay, already the person is criminalized in the existence. So it's first takes the person out. So all the other things that are written, whether they have access to justice or whatever, it is out because you are already criminalized. It affirms the conversion therapy, and if we have done, we've done some study on conversion therapy globally and even in Ghana, where, as was described, people are taken to shrines, to churches where candles are put on their head, burnt and put on them to exhaust their homosexuality out of them. So these things are things that people are going through, and this law gives way for conversion therapy to be held. And we would say that we have a law and we are in Ghana, we know what happens in our churches, and we see them on TV. It will affect HIV programming by increasing HIV prevalence, reducing funding for HIV activities. So I've heard a lot of times certain members of parliament or certain proponents of the bill have said gay people are increasing HIV or they are making HIV more prominent, or however they're advancing this conversation on HIV. Rather, when you look at the study from Ghana AIDS Commission, it says that over 70% of HIV prevalence is by heterosexual people. So then where is this discussion around gay people? So then after that, when that happens, it means that LGBT people will not go for services, or the men who have sex with men especially, will not go for the service that they are entitled to. If they don't, that is when the prevalence will increase. And this law puts something in their way, puts a barrier in their way to access those services. It closes civic space and makes media work quite difficult, because then people can't talk about it. I can't go on the media and say and express myself as the Constitution allows me to do. Express myself and say I support A or I support B because of who they are, and say that per what I'm supporting, I'm advocating that you should be given their rights. As an advocate, civil space is closed. The media would not have an opportunity to even discuss it. Somebody can misconstrue a discussion about LGBT because of what is in the bill now, and say, well, you are talking about LGBT in a way, and can be said to have been criminalized. Remember, there's another case that I wish I could have shared, but remember that if a person is arrested, now, in Ghana, for me, as a human rights advocate for the past 10 years, the trauma you go through when you are arrested till the time you are given bail is enough punishment. So when people talk about, oh, you can report to the police, the trauma of being put in cells and being mistreated and even sometimes being asked for bail, come and pay bail, it is torture enough for somebody to go through. So let's not to make somebody have to go through that torture. Also, there will be false accusations that will increase insecurity. Even honorables, you are at risk. Anyone can accuse you. You can be accused for holding yourself, for wearing pink to be construed as being gay, for saying something somewhere. You are also at risk if this bill is passed as it is. Now, for me, I've worked in the international human rights space, and that is where I work. And if you look at our last Universal Periodic Review, Ghana accepted some recommendations from the Universal Periodic Review, and I'll read them to you. At the third cycle, it says that one, take steps. Ireland proposed that we take steps necessary to protect lesbians, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex persons from violence and discrimination on the basis of their sexual gender identity, and Ghana accepted this recommendation. We also accepted to take measures to fight against violence and discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. We accepted to eliminate any type of crime of unnatural carnal knowledge and adopt measures to eradicate discrimination motivated by sexual orientation and gender identity. Eliminate the type of crime of unnatural carnal knowledge and adopt measures to eradicate discrimination motivated by sexual orientation and gender identity. And this was a recommendation by Greece. So having said all this, we have some few recommendations. One, we are saying that we should withdraw the bill entirely, because for us, the first section that talks about the idea of somebody holding themselves is enough. For me, when I read that one, I was like, that's it. I don't think it's right for anybody to be discriminated, to be targeted, for states to target such a person with such a law. And so for me, the first one, and for our group, we say that we should remove the law. We shouldn't even give it away to be enacted into law. We should provide a platform for LGBT organizations and advocates to speak to legislators. What happened today with my colleague Davis was one of the best things I've seen, where we're sharing lessons, asking questions, Because I think that for me, I'm even happy if out of here, I've been part of some advocacy where we have the members of parliament have to ask us questions in camera, and we explain some of the things, and I've shared some of the reports that we've done with you. So we are happy to do that conversation and have continuous conversation with you to explain further what we are talking about. I don't think this platform will be enough for us to explain how deep these things are. So we are happy to do that if you are happy to work with us. We are also hoping that you enact laws that help to protect all minorities. So, for instance, in Mozambique, so people say in Africa it is no. Mozambique has removed that law, which for us we still have, which is the natural canon knowledge. Angola has done the same. I'm sure you know about South Africa already. If you go to countries close to us, Cote d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, all these countries do not have such laws. So, and I'm sure we heard about Senegal, where the parliament booted out that law. So for us, we think that this law is not a law that we should give it a face. If we are giving it a face, then we should look at the family values. We should look at what family values really mean. What are the factors that are breaking our families in Ghana? Let's add that to that law. Is it irresponsible parenting? Is it child neglect? Those are the things that are breaking our family values. And I think that for me, if we are talking about any law that protects our families, we should look at those things as well. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Robert, for the presentation. It's ratify here. Ratify is not. And we also understand Christian Council of Ghana is also not in our midst. So we'll open the floor for questions and answers. Honorable members. Yes, that's the only one we are having now after lunch. So, honorable members, we have the opportunity now to ask questions, to make comments.
Please, can I move to my colleagues?
Yes, you can join them. Okay.
Yes, Chairman, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Let us reiterate the point that as a committee, we have never prevented anybody to come and do presentation before us. When they advertised for memo, the time was up. The committee has extended the time. So I am not personally happy. When making presentation, then you make a comment that if the committee will allow those who are gay, then they can come and talk to us. Nobody has appeared before us, and then we ask the person, what is your status? Are you gay, lesbian, or bisexual? We've never asked anybody. So I don't know what will make people jump into a conclusion and into thinking that in the public view, the committee is trying to prevent people perceived to be gay from coming to talk to us. So I want to do this as a preliminary point. This is the second time I'm listening and hearing that from a presentation being made. The committee will not today or tomorrow prevent anybody from talking to us, and we are not interested in knowing whether you are a gay or not before we listen to you. We will not make any disclosure regarding your status. Even they requested that we should listen to them in camera. We have considered this. So are we going to force them from their various houses in order to listen to them? If a request to listen in privacy has been granted, and nobody is coming to talk to us in privacy, and when you are given the opportunity, then the impression is created as if the committee is not giving them opportunity. Sorry, I beg to differ.
Okay, Honorable Agaga.
Thank you, Chair. The presenter started off by showing us some videos, and the message carried by the videos is that people who in this country belong to the LGBTQ+I community are victims of violence. In the first video, the narrative is that somebody who professes to be a lesbian says she was attacked by some young men who wanted to know whether she had a male genital or not. The next moment, you hear her in the video say she was brought out, there was bonfire, then she saw police, pastors, and chiefs. And what happened next? The story is incomplete. Was she burnt, or they just showed the bonfire to her in order to intimidate her, or what? So there is a gap there. Now, the second, or that is the third video, one of them which involves Kwesi. And here you indicated that the man was assaulted around Nima, and the matter was reported to the police, charges were preferred, and you went to court. And the judge, the defense lawyer kept referring to the victim as that gay man, and the judge got carried away. How did that case end? This is a committee, and Parliament is a house of record. We need to know. You see, we have the committee responsible for judiciary affairs. This is the committee responsible for legal and parliamentary affairs. If we deem it fit, we could even summon the Attorney General to appear and answer questions in relation to the abuse you are alleging. How did Kwesi's case end? It's important, but the videos as they stand now do not tell us a complete story, with the greatest of respect. You see, like the ranking indicated in his remarks, if you want to be heard in camera, you can apply, and the committee would consider your application, so that you present facts in full to allow the committee to make informed decisions. But if you feed us with facts that are incomplete, you disable us from doing justice to the issues that have been brought before us for our attention. So these are the remarks I just wanted to make in relation to the videos you played. Thank you.
Honorable Sam George.
Thank you very much, Chairman. And I associate very extensively with the views of Honorable James Agalga that it will be important for us to have the full picture, for us to be able to appreciate the issues raised properly and put in context. Now, I just want to state that, or I want clarity from Richard, right? Robert. He made categoric statements to the fact that the bill criminalizes one for holding out as a gay. Now, if you read clause 6, and you read it in completion, where it talks about people who hold out, that's 6(1)(e). Is he saying that he has no problem with the rendition in 6(1)(a) that describes the offense? We say if a person commits an offense, if the person engages in and lists the activities. Is he okay with that portion, but has a problem with
61E. I just want that for clarity purposes. Again, he mentioned clause 12 of the bill and said clause 12 of the bill as it stands now even would prohibit anyone from accessing a trotro. Those were the comments we had. In speaking about trotro, he said anybody who even wanted to access services. For example, if the person boarded a trotro, will the person be liable under clause 12? Clause 12 of the bill actually is under the heading prohibition of, promotion of, and advocacy for activities prohibited under this act. So it is not an umbrella omnibus provision. What has been criminalized under or prohibited under this act, or what is being proposed to be prohibited under this act? Would the provision of services, for example, medical services, amount to propaganda in support of that? Would it amount to promotion of it? Will it amount to advocacy of it? Or access of transportation? I would want to understand how you're interpreting 12 to mean such an omnibus thing. Again, you make a categorical statement that the bill supports conversion therapy. I'll be grateful if you show me what part of the bill supports conversion therapy. You made reference to the issue of HIV prevalence that the bill in its memorandum speaks about. If you've read that document from the Ghana AIDS Commission, it is ultimately and abundantly clear from that document that prevalence in MSMs, men having sex with men, in terms of HIV prevalence, is higher than in heterosexual couples. And so what it says is that the possibility of contracting HIV in an MSM is 40 times more likely than between a heterosexual couple. That's the reference that the bill makes. Except you dispute this fact, then I would want to get that clear. Then you said the bill prescribes Article 21 rights of advocacy. Constitutionally, 1992 Constitution gives you the right for advocacy in Article 21.
Expression.
Expression.
Yeah.
Very well. Do you think that our anti-money laundry bill that also fights terrorism and prohibits the advocacy of same is an abuse of Article 21 expression rights? And you read Article 21 rights to be a carte blanche without any checks and I mean, I appreciate the fact that those who may be against the bill will want to be sensational and emotive on some occasion, but you stretch it a bit. I mean, I love to wear my pink, my hot pink. It doesn't make me gay. You understand me? And let us be clear about one thing, Chairman. This is a bill that if it goes through Parliament and is passed into law, will not be interpreted by myself or any ordinary Ghanaian person. Persons can only be found guilty when there is a proper prosecution in a competent court of jurisdiction, and that court finds guilt when the mens rea and the actus reus have been proved by the prosecution. And so it's incorrect when the perception is being created that once Parliament passes this bill and anybody is walking on the streets, then the person is guilty because someone accuses him. Every accuser must prove his accusation in a competent court of jurisdiction. Ghana is not a banana republic. So, except you think that this bill is not going to be carried out through the criminal prosecution, and you have evidence of that, I would love for you to help us. But then the last point I'll make is on the international signatories. Article 75 of our Constitution is clear. Any government agent can go to any international conference and take part in any memoranda, and in these international conferences, we attend them. The communique is drafted by various, this one that you said was sponsored by Greece. Interest groups draft communiques, and persons present there are part of the communique. However, it is not binding on the Republic of Ghana until and unless the Parliament of Ghana domesticates that law and ratifies it. So all of these conventions you are speaking about, I would be grateful if you could show me Parliament of Ghana domesticating and ratifying those conventions. In the absence of any such ratification by Parliament of Ghana, it is fine English on a piece of paper that has no legal consequence in the Republic of Ghana. Chairman, I thank you.
Honorable Bejra.
Sam has said all. Exactly what I was going to say. I really wanted him to at least give us some laws that has been passed, other outside, which has been ratified by us, or which has not been ratified by us. If you can give us a convention, I'll be happy. The conventions that you think has been, signed by some group of people outside Ghana. The rest, some has said it already.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. From Robert's presentation, we witnessed the attacks and beatings from the video. Chairman, the bill as it is now in clause 19 provides for protection of victims of prohibited sexual activities. So this bill is providing for protection for these victims. So, Robert, if you think this bill should be thrown away, how will these victims be protected? Chairman, that's my question.
Okay, so Robert.
Thank you very much.
Respond to these ones and then we'll take a second round.
Thank you, Honorable. I will attempt, because some of the questions maybe I'll ask maybe repeated a bit. But first to say that we are in no way, and I don't think in my presentation I made any impression that we are saying that people are not allowed to come here. No. What I said emphatically was we are happy. I saw what happened between you and my colleague about explaining what lesbian is, gay is, and I'm happy if in other cases which have been part of Right Information Bill or the other laws, sometimes Parliament goes out with the advocacy team to get further information. So I'm saying that if you are interested, we are happy to do that. But I didn't say that nobody has been given an opportunity to come here. No. For the cases, you have
Boss,
Robert.
Yes. Robert Akoto.
Yes.
You see, every bill that Parliament passed into law, as a constitutional requirement in Article 106, the bill is supposed to be gazetted before it is even introduced. And gazetting gives notice to the general public, so that anybody who has comment on that particular bill will make the comment. And until 14 days elapsed, Parliament doesn't even have the power to work on the bill. Is that clear?
Oh, no, yes.
The procedure.
I believe that as part of the work of the committee, you engage civil society. And sometimes civil society work with some members of the committee outside Parliament, outside this gathering public now, where there are workshops, where there are presentations that are made. In other issues, where maybe Right Information Bill, there's a committee that wants to know a little bit more, an NGO decides that we have some workshop that we work with. That's what I'm saying. I'm not so.
I was part of the Right to Information Bill. Similarly, the bill was gazetted. Advert was made, welcoming memo. No parliamentary committee is going to force any civil society organization or any individual to come to Parliament with memo. So don't go there at all as if other bills are passed without stakeholder engagement. We follow the procedure. So okay, I'm just trying to educate you that we are guided by the supreme law of the land above and beyond which no further law exists. Okay, that's the Constitution.
Yes, I understand. Okay, now for the case of Kinto, what happened? So I will be happy to provide you with more information on Pearl's case later, but for Kwesi's case, we went to court. Because of what happened in court, he decided not to continue with the case. So we didn't continue because he was uncomfortable, he was afraid, so we never went back to court. So that is how it ended. Am I in agreement with Section 6? For me, as I've said before, no part of the law is acceptable to us as a group. We do not accept it. We think that if you decide to ask somebody that if they hold themselves out, then any other activity they do as they hold themselves out is already criminalized, as you mentioned in Section 6. So we say that we are against the law in its entirety, and we don't want it to be passed at all into law. Now, I wanted to ask Honorable, I wanted to just seek further information from Honorable Sam. Did Ghana AIDS Commission inform you about what causes MSMs to have high prevalence? Did they mention them to you?
Well, it's in the report, and the claim in our memo goes beyond just the Ghana AIDS Commission's report. We've actually looked at reports from other jurisdictions, and clearly it is simply because when men have sex with men, they are using, for want of a better phrase, an unnatural orifice for penetrative sex, which leads to higher possibilities of laceration because it's not well lubricated. And so, I mean, we can go into all of those details, but clearly, the Ghana AIDS Commission report mirrors international statistics on prevalence between MSMs vis-a-vis prevalence in heterosexual couples. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm also ready.
Let me add something briefly to what Sam George has said. I think Ghana AIDS Commission was part of the first people who did a presentation before us. And he did mention that 70% is from the heterosexuals. But in relative terms, if you look at the number of the heterosexuals and then the number of the perceived lesbian homosexuals, and then they are giving it 70-30, then you come to a conclusion that if this small number can in relative terms constitute 30%, then it calls for worry. That was what happened.
Thank you very much, Honorable. And I agree with you that it is a cause of concern, but also to clarify that this is among men who have sex with men. Lesbians are not part of it. Transgender women are not part of it. Intersex people are not part of it. Also to mention that among men who have sex with men, we have heterosexual men in men who have sex with men. And also to clarify that per every report, even international standard, criminalization of a group of people, including female sex workers, is part of what increased prevalence. So if you look at the report again, you can also talk to Ghana UN8 in Ghana. They can provide you with those details. And one of the key, across the world, one of the key things that increase prevalence, because it sends people into hiding, they don't access HIV services, they are not able to go for all these services. Obviously, these things happen in private and we don't know. So if you don't know this thing and you are also preventing people from accessing service, what do we expect? Increment in prevalence. So for me, I think that's important that we go back to the report and see the issues. There are many issues, but this criminalization has been proven to be one of the issues. Criminalization of female sex workers, injecting drug users, and men who have sex with men is one of the key causes of high prevalence amongst them. I have not read the money laundering law.
Just before you proceed, on that point.
In this country, I know that prostitutes access healthcare. So prostitution is a crime in this particular country. Now, who will go to hospital to access healthcare, and then the medical practitioners will be asking the person, are you a homosexual, before treating such a person? We want to face the social reality on the ground, yes, not based on perception.
Exactly. So I have been working in the field, and I think most of my colleagues have been working in the field for the past, I have worked for 10 years across the country. And yes, they are asked. So if you may be informed that sometimes we have to create services for even female sex workers so that they can access healthcare in a manner in which they will not be discriminated against because of who they are. So for us, I mean, it is not a matter of just looking at the figures, but what causes the figure and presenting it in a way that will show us to understand that if we don't look at it in that manner and solve the causes of it, we will still have the prevalence. We'll put this law in place and still have the prevalence, because I know that the situation has been discussed for so long, but still prevalence is going high because the law, we already had the law that was criminalizing it in a way, and we are now putting a harsher law.
Robert, respectfully, And we need to be minded by the kinds of comments, because the medical profession is not represented here. But if a patient shows up in a doctor's office with fecal incontinence, a man shows up with fecal incontinence, or shows up with anal lacerations, it is incumbent on that medical practitioner to ask that man, not because he wants to discriminate against him, but it is only professional that the doctor asks him what his sexual orientation is that has led to fecal incontinence or anal lacerations. So you understand me? But if the person showed up and it was to access antiretrovirals, for example, when you walk into a health facility to get your antiretrovirals refilled for you, you are not asked necessarily what your sexual orientation is. I want us to make those distinctions. Secondly, the Ghana AIDS Commission has appeared before us, like the ranking has said. And I have engaged personally the Ghana AIDS Commission on this work. The Ghana AIDS Commission has its programs by which it does the dissemination of not just antiretrovirals, but even lubricants to men having sex with men, MSMs, and persons in that community. And we made it clear to them that, look, the Ghana AIDS Commission necessarily doesn't go on the field, but works through CBOs. Now, the problem is some of these CBOs, after getting whatever resource and funding from the Ghana AIDS Commission, when they engage in active recruitment, and that's where the challenge is. And the Ghana AIDS Commission itself has admitted that they have heard some of those reports. And so we made it clear to the Ghana AIDS, because the Ghana AIDS Commission's concern was that this bill would mean that their provision of ARVs, for example, could amount to promotion of activities. They said, no, that's medical support. But if a CBO acting in the name of the Ghana AIDS Commission goes on the field and is creating recruitment rings for MSMs, that is illegal. That is promotion. That will be criminalized. You understand me? So we need to draw the distinctions between what you're talking about and even how come some medical practitioners need to ask what your sexual orientation is. Because, I mean, if a man shows up with fecal incontinence or anal lacerations, the doctor must ask to know what he's treating. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Honorable. I think that I want to also make it clear around the idea that we do not control how health personnel will behave towards a patient. Like I said, I work in this field for the past 10 years. You have mentioned the idea that CBOs work with them, and I have been part of those CBOs that have worked with Ghana AIDS Commission. And I'm saying that when we go to the hospital, people have reported to us that when they go, they are discriminated, stigmatized, identified publicly because of their sexual orientation. Because as you said, they will ask, you will be told, because the patient wants to get the health service, they would report and tell you, this is who I am and this is why I am like this. And then if the health professional, who we have the patient charter, which we have promulgated several times, we have Ghana Health Service, we work with Ghana Health Service to push this the patient charter, we still have these things being reported. Even personally with HIV, which I have worked with also, we have these issues still going on. And that is why I'm saying that apart from all these things that you've mentioned, the criminalization is one of this. What the issue we are talking about now is one. Criminalization is also another. And that is why we are saying that if you criminalize, and it is proven globally, global funds that the Ghana AIDS Commission access, it is in their report. And that is one work that Ghana AIDS Commission is expected to work on. UNAIDS is in Ghana providing funds for HIV. It's in their report about the idea that criminalization of minorities, including men who have sex with men, is what contributes to high prevalence. So it is not we deciding that it looks beautiful to say, but it is because of what the Ghana AIDS Commission's report itself says. And that is what we are presenting to you, what is in that report. And I can give you a copy when I'm leaving here and email it to the clerks. I haven't read the money laundering report, the law, so I can't really make the comparison. But what I was getting at is that if a person wants to express themselves and it doesn't harm anybody in any way, I wonder why somebody can say, I am gay, and then the person is already a criminal. Expressing yourself, because it says holdout, unless we are yet to define what holdout means. But already the person is criminalized. That's expression. That is Article 21(1)(a). So then that's my problem is, if we have that law available, it infringes on that right.
Robert, respectfully, and just so that we are educated better, if yes, you have rights to express yourself, but if you're expressing yourself as something that's look, forget about this bill we're even discussing now. Today, the Criminal Offences Act does place some criminal description on unnatural carnal knowledge. So if you hold out as something that is criminal, it's like an armed robber holding out and saying, I'm an armed robber. It's like a rapist holding out and saying, I'm a rapist. It's already criminal. You understand me? So this bill is not seeking to criminalize something that is legal today. I need us to get that fundamental basis.
I still do not agree on that level, because what we said is that clearly you can never in any way compare armed robbery to homosexuality or being gay or being lesbian. In no logic terms. An armed robber holds a gun against the head of a person, per my understanding, and takes something, and somebody loses something from the process of armed robbery. Whatever other thing that you talk about, that you have compared, all of this have implications. So when you talk about, we have explained, my colleague explained before that it is two people expressing love for themselves. Who loses what? Has any of the two people expressing love for each other reported any case of abuse? You know, for me, that is my question, that as I work on these issues, I ask myself, how does a person expressing themselves or expressing their love to another person harm any other person?
Let me give you another example. Prostitution and homosexuality. Now, unnatural carnal knowledge is a crime in Ghana, and homosexuality is unnatural carnal knowledge. In the same way, prostitution is a crime in Ghana. So we allow people to hold themselves out as homosexual. Then equally, we must allow prostitutes to also hold themselves out as prostitutes. Is that the point you are making before us?
I am an advocate for sex workers, so yes, I agree with you.
Well, let me just remind you what Vladimir Putin said about homosexuality, so that you see how well of a crime. He says it's genocide against the human race, because it effectively is wiping us out.
But which is arguable, because then we have existed in this world for how many years? Homosexuals did not start existing in the past 10 years. And we still have people procreating, we still have people living. So for me, I think that it's important that we don't make it and say that it is genocide. It is not genocide. Homosexuals have existed as long as all the homosexuals today have existed, that some of us were born to meet. Homosexuals have existed. Yep.
Chairman, okay. I just heard him saying that we have been in existence for long. I want to find out whether he's referring to himself and the group, or he's just an advocate. You said it. He and who have been in existence.
Anyway, I really don't mind if I am seen as that. It's not an insult. It is not so I don't mind. But the point is that if I said we, I'm sorry.
Okay, honorable.
Thank you, Chairman. According to Robert, Kwesi's case was discontinued. I want to find out whether they were able to retrieve the car and money that were taken from him. And then, secondly, I also want to find out what happened to the lady who spoke in the video that petrol was poured on her, there was fire set. I want to find out whether she was put in the fire or somebody rescued her, because he said pastors, chiefs, and other community people were around. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we are happy to bring Pearl to. I hear that there's a private session that has been granted to one of the groups, and we work together with the person. So if the person is willing, but as far as we are concerned, yes, she was rescued, but it didn't end there. Other things happened to her. She was rescued. She had to run away to Accra, and she was rescued by some of us in a groups to give the person shelter and all of that for the person to live in Accra, and couldn't go back to her home. So she's still around, but unfortunately she can't go back to such a community. And the car, yes, Quinto's, yes, so it was returned to him. The money could not be retrieved, but it was returned. The car was returned.
Come on, Mr. Robert.
The UPR.
Mr. Robert,
yes,
on the Kwesi's issue,
yes,
I want to promise you that as a lawyer, at least 20 years at the bar, I won't take your words for nothing. I am going to follow up. So I will be interested in knowing the court that is carrying out prosecution. And I know that a crime is a crime against the Republic. So Kwesi cannot have the right to say that the crime against me, I'm discontinuing it. It is only the Attorney General that has the exclusive preserve to file a nolle prosequi to discontinue a criminal action. At best, the action can only be struck out for want of prosecution. So I the whole situation that such a crime will be committed against Kwesi, and then the prosecution will sit down for Kwesi to discontinue this particular action. He doesn't have the power so to do. So after this meeting, I will see you for certain specifics, and I will go to the court to find out the status of Kwesi's case. Don't forget that you are talking to members of Parliament of Ghana, and we are capable of cross-checking that.
Thank you very much, and I'll be very excited about it because we are also looking for a legal opportunity, public interest case. And if Kwesi, because the issue is that, and this is not an isolated case of Kwesi, and I'm happy that you'll be interested because a lot of people have to withdraw their cases because they can't find going back and forth to the court. They can't, so then, and the case stops. So I'm happy that you've taken an interest, and I'm very excited to work with you as a human rights advocate for us to go for it. So yes, Kwesi's case is available. We will contact him for you to hear his story. It's even on the media. It was in the papers in 2015. It was a big issue all over around. But because it's becoming quite real now, I have to reveal a lot of the other things. But you can even Google it, and I'll give you the key words to Google them and then read more about the case itself that happened. If I can go to the UPR one, UPR is a Universal Periodic Review. Ghana goes, and all other countries that have signed all the Bill of Rights, have ratified and have all of that, goes to the UPR in Geneva every 4.5 years, and Ghana is up for review next year. We go to this review to go and see how we have fared on our human rights issues. It is a peer review mechanism. So other countries look at our human rights records and make recommendations per what they have seen. I was there. I mean, I was in the room in Geneva. I mean, the idea that these issues were discussed, countries raised issues about Ghana's, not only LGBT issues, death penalty, all the other human rights issues that you can think about were raised. Ghana accepted, so in the process of this international process of laws, Ghana has the right to reject or note some of these issues, and Ghana has the right to accept. The Attorney General then, in reading her statement, also said, and I hope that we can get copies of the statement for you, said that Ghana is taking steps to protect LGBT people by training SHRAJ and other institutions to ensure that violence against LGBT people is eliminated. So for us, we don't see it as because government thinks that it is, otherwise, unless Parliament is telling us that it's only when government sees it as say nice things to international donors and human rights checkers, then that is fine, as Honorable Sam George is saying. So some of us as human rights advocates on the international front will say that, okay, anytime Ghana comes to these forums, that some of us are also going to continue being at the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, at the African Court, at every other forum where it is international human rights. We'll say, oh, let's not take Ghana serious. Parliament has not looked at it, so it's not important. I think that is what I'm getting, the message I'm getting here, and I hope that is not what we are sending to the international community. Thank you.
Just on this one, because he mentioned the international conventions, I just want to read for you the UN Convention, the UN Declaration on Human Rights, Article 16 of the UN Declaration of Human Rights, the UN's own declaration. 16.1 says, men and women of full age. It didn't say men and men, or men and or women and women. Men and women of full age, without any limitation due to race, nationality, or religion. Again, it didn't make reference to gender identity. Have the right to marry and to found a family. They are entitled to equal rights as to marriage, during marriage, and at its dissolution. The choice of words, I repeat, men and women of full age, without any limitation due to race, nationality, or religion. So the UN's own declaration does not recognize gender identity as a limitation. Again, it goes on to say the family is in three. The family is the natural and fundamental group unit of society and is entitled to protection by society and the state. So then if you take the African Charter as well on human and people's rights, it tells you that the enjoyment of all your rights are conterminous on what the society agrees are permissible. So if we look at our society, you cannot say that because there are rights in another jurisdiction, in this society, those rights that pertain in another society automatically pertain here. And then the last one, because you said you didn't see how people expressing their love for another man, a man expressing his love for another man will affect a child. Well, I'm sure you heard the report from Ola Girls, where the headmistress said the LGBTQ community had formed social clubs and were recruiting actively girls, students, into LGBTQ communities, and how that sits with what the UN Declaration, again, the UN Declaration on Human Rights, Article 26.3, says parents have a prior right to choose the kind of education that shall be given to their children. So if as a parent, I have not subscribed to pro-LGBTQ education, but LGBTQ persons and associations are trying to go into schools to teach my children something without my consent, as the parent, I have a right to rise up and say, this must stop, and that the state, under the UN Declaration, has a responsibility to ensure the sanctity of family as the society so prescribes.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say that I am an advocate for the protection, and we as a group are advocates for the protection of children in every way and every manner. No one has the right in any way to touch any child in any way, sexually, in any way, and that is why we have made laws to protect children. So any individual who goes to a school with the intention of introducing children to a sexuality or sexual activity, even if it's heterosexual, and it is not right, we should all stand against it, any form of sexual contact. And that is why...
It means you support the bill. That's
no,
what the bill is seeking to do.
I support all sorts of sex, so including heterosexuality. So any form of anything that would harm a child is wrong, and we shouldn't support it. Now, if you mentioned the UN, which one did you mention?
The UN Declaration on Human Rights itself.
Okay, yeah. I take it that once we mention that this is good and we as a country are accepting it, it means that any international law we accept it as it may be, as you are accepting it. Then because the idea is that UN has also adopted Resolution 1719, that talks about the need for us to start making progress towards looking at accepting LGBT people as a group of people that are part of our community.
You missed the point I made on ratification. You understand me? And then the fact that the UN has different kinds of resolutions. Like you're saying, there are binding and non-binding resolutions. But the fact that there is a resolution of the UN, what is the character of that resolution? Is it binding on the state? If it's binding on the state, has the state come into... For example, in the IT space. We are signatory to the Budapest Convention. We signed the Budapest Convention on cybersecurity almost 10 years before we worked with the current minister last 2 years ago in 2019 to actually domesticate it. And even when you take the the Budapest Convention, there are certain portions of the Budapest Convention and then the African Convention, which is the Malabo Convention, that Ghana said we will not domesticate. So yes, Ghana is a signatory to the Malabo and Budapest Convention on cybercrime, but our local laws don't recognize all the provisions of the Malabo and Budapest Convention. So that's why I'm saying to you, yes, we may be a signatory to it, but you need to then look at the text of what, if we have domesticated it, what have we domesticated? Because as far as I'm aware, these are my seniors in Parliament. Since I came to Parliament, and we have a very senior member of Parliament here, about 5-6 times in Parliament, Ghana's Parliament has not ratified or domesticated any international convention seeking to respect or give rights to LGBTQ persons.
Okay, so first I wanted to also clarify this quickly. We are not here advocating for any new right called LGBT right. No, that's not our agenda. Our agenda is that there are human rights that people are being denied because of their sexual orientation and gender identity. I just wanted to also refer you to, and as you have said, maybe now we'll use these documents. For me, I take it that, and especially when Ghana has not been to report to the African Commission on Human and Post Rights for the past 20 years, I take it that we don't take it seriously. But Resolution 275, Resolution 275 of the African Commission also mentions also asks state parties to the African Convention on the rights of people, on the human rights of people, and protect LGBT people from violence, and ensure that no state has anything that would harm LGBT people. So if we have Resolution 275, and even the UN declaration that you're talking about, even it's not a law, it's not something that it is ratified, or it's also what do you call it? A declaration, as we say it's international law. It's a declaration. It's not something that we hold forth to. So if you refer to it, then I'm sure that it's important that we give equal respect to other international instruments that we want to refer to, and not sideline some of them because it favors a particular discussion that we are doing and leave others out. I think that there was a mention of recruitment. I think it's rather unfortunate that we always talk about recruitment, and I think it's a wrong assertion that I think that we need to clarify and clearly. No adult from a certain age, if the law says that if you are sexually harassed, go and report to the police, you should do that. If anybody comes to you and say, I want to have a sexual relation with you, and you don't accept it, there's law to protect you. If somebody forces you to have sex with you, there's law to protect you. So that is why we are saying that it is rather interesting that we find it in our law, in this particular law, that we say that we want to create another law to protect people who we call in this law victims. Thank you.
Robert Akoto, I think certain things that you have said are not known to our Criminal Offences Act. Or Sana, so sexual harassment, a criminal offence under our Criminal and Other Offences Act. It is not. Everybody would have been tried by now.
Well, if somebody is heckling me, I can't report to the police.
If you go to report at the police that you are harassing me sexually, I do not think police will have a section in our Criminal Offences Act based on which the person can be prosecuted. You quoted a statement from the Attorney General.
Can I make a quick? So I'm taking this opportunity to advocate that we should, if we can consider generally to start making laws against sexual harassment, especially.
Very well.
Thank you.
You quoted the statement of the Attorney General then, that he stated Ghana would take steps to protect violence against the LGBTQ persons. Is that not so?
Yes.
provision in this bill which seeks to protect the LGBTQ from violence. What is your take on this?
There are laws to protect anyone who faces violence in Ghana. And so that law should apply to everybody. So this law is not needed.
It means that your understanding of this law is that if somebody is already LGBTQ, you can commit violence against the person and the law...
No, I'm saying that any form of violence against anyone is wrong. So once the law says that assault is there, so once I am assaulted, for any reason, once I'm assaulted,
yes,
as a Ghanaian, I have the right to go and report.
Yes.
So then we shouldn't single out some group of people in the law and say that for your, we are saying that there's already law, it's enough. Let's not create another one. Because already the issue is, like we are saying, when we go to, when you go to the police station.
So you have water and somebody is giving you additional water and you are complaining because the person is giving you additional water.
Because it comes with a slap. It's because you are criminalizing the person. You are saying that then when you go, I'll protect you. No.
The water comes with a slap.
I think we have had sufficient discussion of the presentation by the Alliance for Equality and Diversity. I don't like when I'm moderating asking questions, but let me ask you this question. In responding to Honorable Sam George, you said you don't agree with any of LGBTQ, let me use for want of quoting you right, to students. You was talking about a school where they were recruiting girls actively into the community. And we said you don't agree with such a move. Section 13, or clause 13 of the bill, talks about prohibition of propaganda of, promotion of, and advocacy for activities directed at a child. Is that a good provision to protect children?
Honorable, I think yes, that no child should be involved in any sexual activity or sexual thing as a child, and I think that children need to be protected always. But once a person becomes an adult, I think that they are at liberty. And I'm being made aware that, of course, there was some, for the Ola girls, the issue was a discussion around teenage pregnancy and other sexual, other issues around HIV and all of that, and was misconstrued to be this. And we are all not sure about the facts, but I mean, that is what the headmistress misconstrued because of what she saw there. So I just wanted to also clarify that. Thank you.
Please. If all other provisions in the bill are not good, there is one provision that you seem to agree with. So if you call for the total withdrawal of the bill,
Mr. Chair,
it's one of your recommendations.
But I argue against...
The bill should be entirely withdrawn.
Yes, I argue that already we have laws that protect children. So let's take it out. Yes.
Sorry, we are grateful for the discourse. I think it's been a learning curve. We are learning. And we are also learning. We have to keep learning. As I said in the first part of our discussions today, you are helping us. Those that make presentations before us, you are helping us to understand the issues better and to make a good law, whether we are rejecting, we are accepting, or we are reforming the bill that is before us. So anytime that we need your views when we are considering the bill cross by cross, you may be invited to throw more light on the presentation that you have made before us today. So we are grateful to you for coming and for the presentation. We are grateful to all the people who made these presentations before us earlier in the day. And we are grateful to everybody who is here and the press also for carrying the message, some life to people in their homes. And I also want to thank honorable members for their time. We spend the whole day here, and that is what we do. And people think that we don't work. We earn our salaries. We earn it. We work for it. So thank you so much. I will give the opportunity to the ranking member to close us finally.
Chairman, thank you very much for the opportunity. I have nothing more useful to say than to my voice to what Chairman said. Thanking everybody, members of Parliament, our invited guests, those who made presentation, not forgetting the media who has been able to carry out this live. And I will assure you that all your presentations will be taken into consideration when the committee is doing clause by clause of the bill. Law is a communicative action. Law is supposed to be an instrument of social engineering. It should be an aid to development. And any time at all a law is going to be passed, then it means that there is a mischief that the law is seeking to cure. Then this presentation will help all of us identify the mischief in one way or the other, and then put the committee in an informed position as to how the law should come out so that the contemplated mischief would have to be cured for betterment of our society. So once again, I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Honorable.